So I haven't introduced you, prior to you showing up here. So hello, everybody. This is Dr. Sue Morter. You'll find out how amazing she is for yourself. So, I'll put links and I'll make it all nice after the fact. And I thought we were going to have like such an easy little conversation. We could talk about hair and dogs and fluff and stuff.
Anything.
And then I was at your yoga this morning, and my first thought was, please, can I want to like somehow include that and make that particular class open to the world, literally.
You got it.
That was
Absolutely.
So it's funny because I said to Sydney just the other day, he's like, well, what are you going to talk to Sue about? The only thing on my mind right now is the fact that the world's on fire and it's upsetting me. And he said, so you're going to talk about like the race and the this and the that. And I was, she can handle anything. She could talk about anything. And then, and then you opened, like I got there a couple minutes late and I got into the class and you were talking about, because I said, Sue can talk to the higher perspective of what's happening everywhere at the same time and in our bodies at the same time. And it's so hard too for white people to be having any conversation right now.
Yeah.
And I know that you can speak to that and white privilege is just like it's all part, there's so many parts of the conversation. And I just love that you went into that right away with yoga, and everything that you were speaking to was sort of looking at the big perspective, feeling it in your body, feeling the anger we all feel and have felt, and how to heal it within and without. And then there's this whole other issue of why aren't there more people of color in spiritual communities, at least the ones I see. I mean, is that me? But like we both know Anita, she always says, yeah, I'm the token, woman of color on this panel.
Yeah.
Why is that? What is that? I'm just throwing out all the questions. You're making a mental picture. I know, like, you're drawing your short answer and trying to ask all the questions this time. And and I don't. And then there's this other side. Every single person that I meet because of your community is such a beautiful human, like with such a big heart. And there's so much strength for healers in that community. So I'm just wondering what next? How now?
Yeah, we are really blessed to have a community that has found each other, that are grounded in true open-heartedness, that want to know, okay, how can we make a difference in the world? And some of the premises, that we're working with are how to recognize that the outer world is an outpicturing of consciousness itself, of which I am projecting. I'm a part of that. So we're here, bringing consciousness, bringing light, the light of awareness through our systems, and then projecting it out into the world. And to whatever degree we're able to masterfully work with that, we start making a contribution to humanity by truly untangling our own stuff, because that allows our own entanglement to untangle, and it allows less of a distortion as that consciousness is passing through us and out into the world. So we don't collapse it in because of our own past wounds or our past perspectives that have gotten put into place, and thereby we then are able to allow that purity of heart and mind to emanate out into the world through us, which has a beneficial effect on everyone. That was the conversation we were having in yoga today. And how do we deal with it when the outer world is upset, is on fire? and is, in this rumble. How do we keep from getting caught up in the rumble and have it tap our own woundedness or our own issues that are unresolved, and then get involved in the mayhem? And how do we take an active step to make a difference in the world without getting caught up in the mayhem? And this is the question before us. That human beings are here to wake up to our ability to do that, and to learn how to do that, how to be engaged, and how to care, and how to make way for others in a way that doesn't compromise us, so that we don't have to suffer in order to have somebody else prevail, because that's not the answer either. That just kind of rearranges the suffering on the planet. So you spoke to several topics, and so we can untangle them and work with them one by one. But overall, I would say that humanity is facing a time where it's time for responsible stewardship. It's time to be responsible for our own deep-seated upsetness, and allow it to be loved by us, and compassionately seen by our own eyes and honored. And that's how it heals. Once we land on, I've actually been very reactive in life. I've actually been quite angry at this or that or whatever. What I was trying to establish today was that that's by design. It's going to happen. When light comes in, when we open ourselves to spirituality, to the unseen world, to the heavens, providing assistance to us in some way, what happens is it floods the basement. It allows what's in there, stuck under there, stairs in the boxes that we packed away long ago, to flood to the surface. And when it floods to the surface, we need to know what to do with it. What's happening in our country, in the United States today, is, we're flooding the basement. It's like, it is not okay for us to have such a place of inequanimity in question. It's not okay for us to keep suppressing someone so that someone else can prevail. It goes against the design. And because of that, we're all suffering in the face of that. So what we're here to learn how to do is to be present with another equally. And we can't possibly do that until we become present with all of the parts of us equally. There's a part of us that we like, and a part of us that we hate, and a part of us that we're proud of, and a part of us that we hide. And we have to start right there, just laying off of that tendency to judge and compartmentalize, if we ever want to be able to flow as an integrated human being that has capacity to have compassion and to have genius roll through them in a moment where push comes to shove and the rubber meets the road, and somebody over there is doing something crazy, and it surges this anger that's inside of us. We have to deal with the anger that's inside of us, so that when somebody over there does something crazy, we can just say, hey, knock it off. Let's surround this and show it another way of being. But we don't have the wherewithal to do that because we haven't dealt with our own stuff. So when somebody triggers it, it's there to be triggered, and then in mass, we're rioting. We're throwing lit bottles of stuff into windows, and in just creating mayhem because we don't know what else to do with our energy. We don't know what else to do with this rage that's been in there. Some of it for very good reason, because some of it, people have been being mistreated for so long that there's nothing but that in there. And that surge of power could be routed for good. It could be routed in an amazing way that could truly be transformative on many, many levels of life, if we let it, if we learn how to steer it in a productive fashion. If someone's acting out of hate, we can't hate the hater and expect to have less hate on the planet. Now we're just hating with a good cause for hate. And there's never a good cause. There's never a good enough reason for hate, but there is definitely good reason for, speaking up and stepping out and not allowing something to continue. So.
Right. That's exactly, I remember that issue of you can't hate the hater. I feel the same way about, politics and the election. And, we were all landing in India when Trump was elected, and this was a big topic of conversation for all of us. And I remember you saying, this has to rise, this has to come up and out. And responding with hate doesn't solve anything.
It just affirms the existence of hate. It confirms it, affirms it, supports it, contributes to it. And, and it's a very big being in a moment like this that can reach inside instead of wanting to step out and duke it out. It takes a very big being to like reach in here and say, I choose something different. I choose something different. And it might seem so far down the other end of the spectrum right now to even bring up Gandhi, who sat down and changed a nation. But I do want to drop it in to consciousness at on a day like today that we're experiencing in our country, that there was something so powerful about the unwavering peace that it was able to stop wars. It was able to shift what was in motion with so much momentum. And I'm not saying that we all sit down, but I do say that there is something about that state of peace that humanity has to learn to find and be so devoted to it that even when people are, obviously doing overt, hurtful things, horrible things, that we have the wherewithal to stand strong in that as we step forward to rectify the situation. That if we lunge forward in the same suppressed or explosive anger or energies of emotion that is untethered, we find ourselves in war. We find ourselves contributing to the exact thing that we're appalled by, just showing up in a little bit different form, but it's still the same vibrational radio station. We're still dialing into that same reality that we're here to transcend. Doesn't mean turn another eye. It means stand firm in what you know is possible and demonstrate that in a powerful way, and that will have a change on the energetic of it all. We have to remember that everything is energy. While we can see actions and we can hear words, we then therefore believe in those things that are tangible. There's an energetic behind the scenes that is actually what's controlling the whole thing, what's managing it. And if we let that energy flow, we are healed and whole and integrated and strong and powerful and compassionate and loving and ingenious. And if we stop that energy or suppress it in some way, it builds. And then we suppress it some more and it builds, and we suppress it some more, but it builds, and we keep trying to suppress it, but it builds, and we keep packing it in there and it explodes. And we're witnessing that. We're witnessing the bursting of a festering boil that has to burst. That's how it heals. So if we can learn how to hold the space for that constructively,
yeah.
we make
So one of the things I just saw right before we got on this call was someone posted a picture of a woman in a yogi pose, hand on her heart, and another woman was criticizing that, don't give me your we are all one yogi perspective. And I was like, but that's important. I mean, we are all one yogi perspective, and how can we take action? I guess is the answer, but I would not be dismissing people that can sit and be centered right now. Am I right? I mean, isn't it, I keep hearing both and in your head. That we need both and. We need that you can sit and be centered, and you're white, you're a yogi, whatever, and what else, and how can you be useful, and in ending oppression and the things that have been happening for centuries. I don't know, I'm just super.
So I was raised in a privileged home. It was in Arkansas, so I don't know how privileged it was, but within my small community, my father was a respected doctor, and it was a small town, but it was kind of a microcosm of what happens in the world. And I grew up thinking that, this was life. This was all there was. That's what happens. That is where ignorance is birthed, is that we're not exposed to things outside of our own world. And so often people have a prejudice against somebody who doesn't have any idea about them, um, when actually they could have compassion about somebody who doesn't have any idea about them. And I speak that because inside of that privileged home, I also was abused by a distant family member in very inappropriate ways. And so I had now a sense of separation from this privileged world that I was in. There was something that I had to keep secret, something I didn't know how to express, something I didn't know how to be okay with. And it made me feel separate from. And it turns out several years later, I ended up in a relationship with a woman and decided, that felt more comfortable and right and real for me, which again was another separative step, another layer that separated me out from whatever my conscious understanding of what life was. Along the way, I moved to another city, and I was surrounded by all kinds of interracial cultural issues in St. Louis, Missouri, which was a far cry from the small town that I had grown up in. And now all of a sudden I was finding and recognizing and realizing that there were all kinds of different perspectives on life. And prior to that, I had no idea that it was that radically different. And I became involved in feeding the homeless, and I became interested in what it is that causes people to feel connected, and what is it that causes people to feel separated. And all the while, I was striving to do well in school and do my best in new environments, and just trying to put it all together like everyone else on the planet is. And I think that it's very important that we recognize something that I came to know as I sought out meditation for a reprieve from the stresses that I was feeling from all these layers of separation. I was raised in a very patriarchal family where the women, forget about it. They had no voice. There was just no way. It was, they were supposed to be what they were supposed to be in the kitchen, and, a nice companion. And, it was like, no, I'm not interested in that world. I'm interested in being me. I'm interested in being alive and finding and discovering myself. And so I find it very interesting that anyone that might, take at a glance, have a judgment about me, because they have no idea what I've been through until they do, until they're interested, until they open, until they learn. And I became an interested, open, learning person because I saw the value in it and how it enriched my life experience. And as I began meditation, it opened my experience transcendentally, multidimensionally, and I saw above this whole drama that we're living inside of this world, the way that we perceive it. And I saw this continuity that actually held the space for all of it to be okay, for all of the ignorance and all of the awakenings and all of the learnings and all of the prejudices and all of the healings, for them all to take place inside of this game called being human. And I recognized that the biggest beings were taking on the biggest projects. The biggest beings were the oldest souls, and they had the capacity to handle challenging situations. That's why they chose them, and that's why they landed where they landed. And that big being landing in a challenging set of circumstances, when they don't know how big they are, they get angry about their circumstances, and they feel suppressed by them, and they feel unrecognized by others, as if others are the ones that are going to give them their liberty. It isn't that way. Our liberty comes from our own internal decision and our own acceptance of our true magnificence, and then expressing that out regardless of our circumstances. That's when we come to know who we really are. It isn't because Joe across the street accepts me. It isn't because someone in my workplace starts to respect me in a way that they didn't before. It's because I do. And when I do, I can bring that forward with peace, because I'm not angry, I'm liberated. I'm not angry any longer. I'm taking my anger and I'm using it to fuel the fire of passion of life. And I demonstrate that by loving into situations that I could be so angry at. I'm grateful for the abuse that I experienced as a kid, because I grew up knowing who I am, or at least being set up to learn who I am because of the challenges in my life, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's inside the individual who decides, you know what, even in the face of this, I am good. I am made of goodness. And I'm going to walk that goodness out into the life, no matter what is said or done around me. And so I just want to jump back to the statement that I found that big beings take on big projects, and they get started right away, because an old soul needs something really challenging to birth itself up out of. Otherwise, it just seems like, yeah, another day. I'm not really growing. I'm just here. We're here to grow and evolve and awaken to our magnificence. And so if we are finding ourselves in challenging circumstances, I assure you, it is a testament to the bigness of our being. And we are at free will choice to decide how we're going to respond to that. I'm either going to be bowled over by it and then angry about that, or I'm going to rise up and say, I don't have to rise up and, and hurt somebody, but I can rise up and reveal, the truth of who I am. And as I do that, I evolve as the soulful being. And as I evolve, then I model that for my neighbor. And it's their choice to be on that same, similar path or not. But we're all in this together, playing roles for each other so that we can find ourselves. And the invitation is, how interested in peace are you? How interested in live and let live are you? And how can we demonstrate that? When someone can be released from prison for, a couple of decades serving time for a crime they didn't commit, and be grateful for having been there because of what they learned about themselves, I get moved. I get really moved. And I'm saying, what about that? Can we as individual, regular people,
Did you see that guy on America's Got Talent who was in prison for 37 years?
No, I didn't see that.
Oh,
Awesome.
it would give you chills. It was just on a week ago, I want to say. And 37 years wrongly accused, freed by DNA. Like once that was established, he was out within weeks. 37 years, and he was watching America's Got Talent from prison, saying, I want to do that one day. I want to sing there one day. And he sang, it was an Elton John song. I forgot the lyrics, but it will change the way you forever. Oh, don't let the sun go down on me. And it brings tears to your eyes. It changes the way you see the song, because he said himself, like, I can be free anywhere, or something along those lines. Like he wasn't angry or resentful, or like he was free inside of himself. So the experience of prison didn't imprison him, which it's still effed up. But I mean, as a prophet or a leader, that man, it has something like so powerful that he took out of that experience. What's the connection with money? Like, I know money is energy, but is money connected to all of this? Or how is it connected? Or like, because I struggle with it. I struggle with money and flow, and like, I feel either I haven't quite hit the thing I'm supposed to be doing, and if I do, does money flow more easily? Like, why is it so hard? Or why am I struggling this way? And how does that relate to, how does money relate to all of this?
Yeah, so I think that money is in the mix because it symbolizes energy itself, in exchanging energy and energy moving. And it symbolizes abundance in some way that's been externalized. And if we can look at money as the flow of abundance and allowing abundance to flow through my heart, to flow through my life, then I'm more likely to be able to attract money into my life or to allow it to flow. We have some deep primal understandings about what it's like to live in community and to help each other and to be there for another when they need it. And we have some deep those communal circuits that are set up inside of us where it didn't require money in order to have something. We had everything when we had ourselves and when we had each other, and we just had food to eat and enough water to sustain us. That we know, I know past life experiences of myself where money was not in the picture. It was a very austere life that I lived, and I've very lucid memory of that. And in such, there was an abundance, there was a fullness. I was attracted back to discovering that in this life, but I didn't know that that's what was happening at the time when I was first drawn to India, into the villages and working with masters of meditation. And I would walk down the streets and people would make more eye contact with me than I had ever seen before. And these people had nothing, I mean, seemingly nothing, but they had everything. There was a joy in them while they were completely living in poverty, and so much illness on the streets in the village. Just amazing. I thought I had gone there to help them, and instead it was transformative in my life experience, because of what I gained was a memory of what it's like to have nothing and have everything. And it established a come from in me that was so profoundly important. It was a stability that was reestablished in me. And I stopped trying to strive to become successful or to do these things. And I just started celebrating. And actually, ironically, my work world became more abundant when I stopped striving to achieve. When I set back into the celebration of who I was and what I had and how much I cared, and the value of my own heart, and then speaking my heart into situations, even when there were people with bigger voices and booming loudly in whatever project I might be involved in. I still had something to offer them that they were oftentimes not in touch with. They had it, but they weren't in touch with it. And that is this deep integrative piece of acceptance and presence. When we cultivate our own presence inside, we have access to everything because we're made of everything. We literally are the universe packed into a body, as quantum science is revealing to us every day. And the only thing that determines what we are experiencing is what we allow ourselves to experience. And so if I'm harboring anger, or if my come from is that I am victimized by my circumstances, then the only choice I have, the only chance I have of a life experience is to be a reflection of how I am holding that consciousness. If I'm angry, I'm going to experience a world that reflects the opportunity for anger to survive. If I am hurt, I'm going to project a life movie that gives me the opportunity to experience being hurt, or walking around as that I am holding energetically. And the most brave invitation that we will ever accept is for us to allow another kind of energy to run through us, other than the one that's logical based upon the story that we've been through, the history that we've been experiencing. The bravest thing we will ever do is allow a different kind of energy to run through our system than the one that's in reaction to what we've already been through. Because if we only ever allow ourselves to be the one that's in reaction to everything that we've been through, the only thing we can possibly create in the future is more of that same movie. And we're going to get to go through it again. We're going to get to have that experience again and again and again and again until we get so tired of having that experience that we surrender something. We're just like, I don't know, I don't care, whatever. And in that moment, in the whatever, we actually open. And in that open moment,
that's when the miracle happens.
That's when the miracle happens. That's it. That's when it happens. That's when things change.
Yes. Yes. Oh my God. Like, just, That was amazing. Like you just changed something in me as you said that, because I was forgetting. I was getting stuck in my story of like debt or whatever. And I was like, that's not what I'm good at. That's not what I'm here for.
Right. Or it's like, I already know how to do that. Let me learn how to do something else. I already know how to do that. Let me
Yeah.
learn a different vibration. That's it.
Hmm.
What would it feel like in my body if I wasn't in debt? And I have to have the courage to walk as that person. It doesn't mean I go out and spend money that I don't have, but it means that I start walking as the person that would be free, or whatever we might assign, to it.
Hmm.
I walk as that person, because if I walk as that person, I allow energy to come through me that then shows me a reality that I never could have seen before, because I was so compressed around money, or I was so compressed around love, or I was so compressed around health or possibility. And in that compression, I'm right, but I'm also projecting a distorted movie out there. I'm right. I'm validating myself. I'm right. And I'm angry about it, or whatever. But still, I'm still going to be projecting the same darn thing out there, as
Right.
long as I stay compressed in here. So we have to learn, we have to be so courageous as to learn to teach ourselves to walk as the one who's already in the solution. What would it be like if I was loved? What would it be like if I was respected? Not what would it be like out there, but what would it be like in here? Because science is showing us that the out there is a reflection of what we're harboring in here. And I'm not by any means saying, they had they got what was coming to them. I don't mean that. I just mean time out here.
Hmm.
We have to stop the crazy. We have to stop the idea that there's not enough, that there's not enough love, that there's not enough money, that there's not enough time for us to be whole, that there's not enough good fortune or well-being in my immediate vicinity to be able, to have what I want to have, or to live the life that I want to live. I have, it wasn't so long ago when I was having to borrow money to get through things, and I was having to figure it out. And I didn't understand. I didn't understand what I'm sharing right now. And by having this awakening that happened in my own life through meditation, and recognizing this bird's eye view on the whole thing that shows us that, oh my God, there is abundance raining down on every single one of us.
Right.
And as long as we think that that person is going to give me my freedom, we're stuck. We are sunk, because that person is in their own struggle. They can't possibly offer me liberty. They can't possibly give
Right.
me the love and the abundance that I'm here to have. It
Right.
has to come vertically. It has to drop into this dimension from something beyond here. And for some people, that's God. For some people, it's Buddha. For some people, it's, a spiritual practice. For some people, it's just breath, or it's hope or faith or trust or belief. All of it is a higher vibration than getting caught up in what we're seeing right here. And it's tough in moments where lots of things are happening in our world that certainly call our attention and ruffle us in a very big way. It's very tough. But that's what we're here to do. We're here to say, even in the face of this, I know where I've been, and I know what I'm experiencing now, and it's not what I'm interested in the future. I have to be my future self. I have to be my future self now. And that's what opens me and allows this energy, which is a very real thing, a very tangible thing. And if someone is so caught up in the drama of the personal experiences that are happening in our lives right now, I completely understand it. And I have to work with it all the time, coming back off the news, coming back off of the current circumstances, just long enough to remember who I am and what this is really all about. And allow this to flow through me with faith, and open my heart when I want to shut it down and, head to the streets myself. No, it's not what we're here to do. What we're here to do is to keep our cool, and to be integrated, and to be grounded, and to open ourselves and allow abundance to flow through us. And then money issues and relationship issues and health issues and, these fiery issues of inequality, for instance, they change because we show up as a higher voice. And if enough of us insist on doing that, we can outweigh the bully. We can outweigh the one who is entitled, the one who is cluelessly in a powerful position and doing things that are based in greed, or that based in equanimity, and not based in equanimity. the power of love is truly a greater power than any other power on earth, even though it doesn't look like that. It doesn't look like it. It's true. And we are the ones that are here to make it so, to just make it so. But one person can't do it. 10 people can't do it. We have to bond together in that way. We have to find that oneness that is inside of each of us, the same, that is truly interested in learning more about other people's needs and being available and not being caught up in our story about our past, because that alone isn't an energy that will make a difference about the future. It's that alone will only rush forward with so much angry energy that it just creates more anger. It just creates more of the problem instead of bringing forward something of solution.
Solution-oriented humans. That's, it's how I think. It's my go-to. It's, you know, solution. What's the solution? I can't stay in places that are about the complaint, because for me, that feels like putting energy into the thing I don't want. And I, you know, as a creative person, I like to put energy into things I do want. Sometimes I even call my photographs like a vision board for your future, because so often I notice that I photograph a person and then they step into this bigger version of themselves. I mean, they were already on the track. They were already headed to the bigger version of themselves. But then I get to show up with them and do a little alchemy, magic, whatever. And it's like a vision board. Like, which world do you want? Which you do you want to be? I don't know. Maybe the reason I do it is because it's my healing too. It's my yeah. Well, I always say that every person I photograph is like a mirror anyway. Like people always say, "Oh, you're never in the picture." I say, "No, I'm in every picture. I'm in every, I feel myself connected to every energetic exchange." Like when we were sitting in your backyard and you said to me that you were seeing sparks coming out of my head, and that the way that I worked was like the way that you worked. And that just like, it said so much for me. That's like, that's my happy place. My happy place is when I can like shine a bunch of light on a person and say, like, look, isn't this person amazing? You need to know this person, or you need them in your life, or yeah. Well, that's how I feel about you. I mean, I think everyone who knows you feels that way about you, and wants to shine more light on what you have to say and how you're saying it and how you're sharing your wisdom, because it's so grounded and so powerful at the same time. I know a bunch of people I've met in your community have said that once they met you, they just stopped looking. You know, they stopped searching for the perfect teacher or message or whatever, because your message is that you are the message. You have the message. You have it in you, and I'm here to help you unlock your own message. And that's I think what I find so powerful about what you're teaching, and that you do it so practically in the energy codes. You know, that it's everybody can read, you know, how to breathe from your heart and relate to that. Yeah, I have to say I love what you're doing, and I think it's so powerful, and I don't know how to make it bigger, public. I've been doing these little YouTube things for a while, and you have come up in almost every one, which is, I don't know if it's sometimes it's because the person knows you, or sometimes it's like something that you say that I then translate onto another person. Um, but I just think I don't know, you probably already know, but your reach is so immense in the way that you are teaching right now, and your teaching is so powerful. And I'm so grateful for it, and for you, and for all the little chance things that brought us together. Um, yeah, sort of at a loss. I'm at a loss for questions, but I'm grateful that you are doing what you're doing.
You know, you're doing what I'm doing. We're all doing what I'm doing if we let ourselves, you know. But this is what I love about just even the analogy of you being a photographer and looking through a lens and finding the view and the angle and the light that you appreciate, and positioning just a hair's breadth differently catches the essence of what you see when you look. and and that's a testament to what science is showing us today, that we find what we're looking for. We find what we're looking for. That's what's happening in our lives. And so you're looking for beauty, and you're looking for raw, real, rich moment of life, however it's unfolding. You want to see it, you appreciate it, and you want to catch it, you want to share it. And that's your come from. And so it rolls through you easily. And I don't even want to imagine what it would be like if you were looking for anger and depletion and upset. You know, you would see something different, and your art would be different art.
Yeah.
And it's not that you're looking for the fluff, it's that you're looking for the essence of life. You're looking for the essence of life. Like, what is real here? What is the richness that makes every one of us important and shine? And what is the mystery inside, behind those eyes, or underneath that skin, or the essence that is just traversing through those veins? What's going on in here, in this person, or this, um, scenery that you're photographing? All of it is energy, and you're looking for the life force and drawing it out of everything that you do. I don't mean looking for as in seeking. You're looking for it in order to celebrate it. And let me celebrate this, and let me celebrate this, and let me celebrate this. And because of that, what you turn out touches people so deeply because of your come from. And I guess this is kind of the point of what I was trying to share earlier, is that we celebrate a reflection of our come from. We experience a byproduct of our come from. And when we are choosing, no matter what our circumstances have been, no matter how abrasive or how abusive or how abandoned we have felt or been, no matter the circumstance, the person underneath that has a choice. And sometimes those experiences, such as the case in my life, those experiences honed me. They refined me, even though people, are very upset sometimes when they hear about the stories and the ways that things impacted me. It's upsetting, or makes them sad for me with compassion.
Mm.
I truly feel about them that those things helped refine this soul and allow it to have facets that could reach into any situation and be available to help someone that was confused or lost or angry or frustrated or caught up in themselves in a way that was not productive. And so, my intention for conversations such as this, I guess, would be that people just really recognize that the more we embrace ourselves and the more we love into this self with our minds, then our heart gets to open, and the next thing you know, we're seeing the richness in the pain, and we're seeing the richness in the question, and we're seeing the richness in having nothing, or the richness of having something. That there's richness regardless of our circumstances, regardless of our surroundings. There's a richness that can be revealed in a photograph. It can be revealed in a moment where two eyes meet, where two hearts actually connect and open. There's a richness of life that is truly what I experience in the heavens when I'm in my highest, most exalted meditative states. There is a richness of life that is there, that when I come back into this dimension with my focused attention, no matter what I'm looking at, I'm experiencing that richness on the inside. And that allows me the wherewithal to walk right into situations that many avoid, to have conversations that many consider unspeakable, to lean into circumstances that many people run away from or sweep under the rug. And so if we can get people to find that part of themselves, the world will change, because need for domination, need for control, need for superiority, need for contracting in those situations, need for reactivity or retribution, it all changes. And someone has to start. Someone has to start. And the one who's been being oppressed is the first one to say, why does it have to be me? Why does it have to be me that has to start this thing? Why do I have to be the one to forgive? And I have to say that apparently that's why we're here. I had to be the one to forgive multiple situations in my life. I was left out of the will, and not left completely out of the will, but, and it wasn't about the material things. It was about, oh my God, how do you decide that your daughter doesn't get this and your sons do? How does that happen? What happens inside of somebody? And I had to, approach that from the hurt one inside. It wasn't about the, oh, I thought I was going to get that. It was about, oh, what's wrong with me? What about me? And how does that translate inside? And, someone else might say, well, you're lucky to even have had a will. There wasn't any will in my family. I didn't even know my father. And I get that. And I know that we're all here doing the same kind of work, and from different perspectives. And what matters is the come from that we choose, not the one we were handed, but the one that we choose inside of that. The one that we decide is more important than our history, more important than our circumstances. The version of me that's more important than the fact that I don't have any money, or that's more important than the fact that I don't have any friends I can count on right now, or that's more important than the fact that I'm the only person of color inside of my whole workplace. Those moments are tough to embrace. And there's a bigness of one's being if they are finding themselves in those circumstances that the other beings maybe don't have yet. Maybe they're younger souls that haven't evolved to the point that they can handle such circumstances. And so, people come to me and they're like, how do I deal with the fact that I was raised in a cult and I was abused and I was sold, or I was, all kinds of things. And how do I get okay with life? And I come to that conversation saying, I am honored to meet you, because the fact that you are here is a testament to the size of your soul. And we need you out here sharing your process and sharing the fact that you're still vertical, and how you did it, and how you're doing it now, and how are you dealing with the fact that society isn't honoring you, or because of the color of your skin, or how do you deal with it? And share from a place of peace, and share from a place of victory and celebration of the greatness of who you are, for even still being here. And in those moments, humanity is served if we only let ourselves have that be our come from. If we let it be in service to something that we suffer, the things that we suffer, let it be in service to something. It's refining us and it's polishing us in some way that no other set of circumstances could, apparently, because these are the circumstances that are happening. And so on some divine level, they're supposed to be happening right up until the fact that they don't need to happen anymore, because we finally figured out who we are. And we don't need to buck up against something in order to have that friction and resistance in order to figure it out. We figure it out. So I'm inviting people to figure it out. Let's figure it out together. Let's figure it out so that we can stand in the celebration of that instead of continuing to be dialed into the radio station of wanting and not having and being victimized by something, by anything. Because we're made for more than that.
Wow. You made me think of a few of my friends who are, you know, the person who came up through unbelievable hardship, challenge, difficulty, to be the only one in a room, like the only African-American woman in all of climbing, rock climbing, which she was like another mother to my son. And she was often the only one in that sport. And that I see her pain and her struggle, and you just gave me this other perspective on it, like, because she was so much stronger, because she could handle it, she was the only. Yeah, that's so important. The people with the biggest struggles are the ones that can handle them.
Or they would be given to someone else. Someone else would be in that role. Someone else would be in those shoes.
Right.
But, you know, we just aren't teaching our young ones to think of it like this. We teach them to be angry because of the circumstances that they're in. And that, in essence, is what I mean by being victimized by our circumstances. We get the notion that our circumstances are bigger than us. You know, now when a young black man can't walk down the street and go just for a jog and happen to have a jacket on to keep him warm, just like, you know, the white kid across the street doing the same thing, not okay, not okay, not okay. And absolutely, these things need a voice. They need to be brought forward. We need to have legitimate conversation. We need to have actions and laws, and we need to have filtering systems inside of our current authority, reference points. Our efforts to protect people have gone awry. They've gotten off track, and out of proportion. And we need to have greater education happening inside of those systems so that we can come to a place of peace. Or it's just going to roll out of hand to the degree that the duality of this surface of this planet wins again. Is we're here to learn how to bring unity to duality. We're here to learn how to tie those worlds together. And if we don't, they just keep separating until they come back around through this system and collide, and we blow things up. It won't be the first time that a species has been obliterated from the surface of the planet. It won't be. You know, we keep coming back. We keep rising again and going at it again. But the third dimension is the place where we work out duality, where we decide to ascend to the frequency of love. We're mental body driven species at this point, and we're striving to learn to let love lead. And that would be an evolutionary leap for us to be a fourth dimensional species, which is the point. That's why we're here, learning how to let love be more important than the thoughts and the beliefs and the grudges that are held inside of the stories that have been carrying us through our lives. You know, we learn and are warmed and opened by story, and we also are oppressed and segregated by story, by beliefs and ideas about who's enough and who's not, who's right and who's wrong. And at some point, we all have to learn to love each other a little bit more, a lot more than we do right now. And you know what? I really find that it can't happen until we learn self-love to a greater degree than we have known it before. How can I possibly love you if I don't love myself? How can I possibly show up in a loving way if I'm afraid every moment of my life? If I'm oppressed and subject to you, how can I show up and love you? But if I love myself enough, if I learn how to love myself enough, then I can be that loving self no matter what you say or do to me. and I can realize that it's about you, it's not about me. And then I can act with compassion and I can show the way, because you're obviously lost if you have to be the bully. You're obviously not in touch with the truth of who you are if you have to oppress someone else or make them feel lesser than you in order for you to feel high. And so I can't see that fast enough to untangle it if I'm caught up in the same mess myself. Perhaps I'm retreating while you're being a bully, but we're caught in the same dualistic reality that someone's less than and retreating, or someone's a bully and oppressing. We're caught in the same side of the coin. We're still in duality, even if we think we're being, if we are at the effect of someone else. And the mind immediately goes, well, that's easy, for you to say. You don't have a gun pointed at you, or you don't have the same circumstances happening in your neighborhood. And I get that. And I have spent time investigating that, wondering if the statements that I make can hold true no matter where I would be standing and saying them. And I haven't found a place that it doesn't help. I haven't found a place on earth that it doesn't serve. And I travel the world all the time, and I'm constantly looking at the cultures and how people live in third world countries, and how they live at the other end of the spectrum. And what do they all need? It's what we're talking about. Everybody needs that. Everybody.
Yeah, my ex used to say, you don't get taller by stepping on other people, which he was talking to me when he said that.
I can't imagine you stepping on other people.
I don't step on people. I
can't imagine that.
I really don't. But I knew what he meant. And I do feel that even my own issue is about, do I love myself enough to take care of myself? Because that's a really fundamental issue. And I think it's an issue particularly for women, taking care of everyone else, taking care of partner, animal, child, community, whatever, taking care of everyone else and not ourselves. Which, that's why it always makes me so grateful when I show up for yoga. I know that you always say that the hardest part is getting to the mat.
The toughest yoga asana of all is the one where you step onto the mat. That's the hardest one.
Right. And I remember seeing a picture, I think when you first started doing the free Body Awake yoga, of you teaching to like a huge group in Indianapolis. Is that right?
Oh, yes.
Like downtown or something?
Yes, downtown. We closed off the streets, and there were a couple thousand people filling up the streets. There's a circle in the center of the city.
Right.
And we're filling up the circle in the side streets with the yoga mats. Everybody doing yoga.
I saw something. I remembered that today. I thought about you and the teaching, and like I said, I like today's class. I really want to share with like the whole world. And I had this vision of you teaching in giant public spaces like that. And I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know if it was like from a, Times Square billboard kind of future world where like, there she is, there's Sue Morter teaching yoga. And then I had this vision of like little rooms everywhere where you were like broadcast life size. And it was like a free Body Awake yoga, and people could just go in and like drop in and drop in. And I saw you as this, and I don't know, it's like because seriously, there are going to be, tens of thousands of empty retail spaces around the world. Like, what would it take to put in a TV at the end so that people could like drop in and show up and do some yoga with you, like streaming on demand live, like just 24/7. I don't know. It just, I thought it was so beautiful that you started doing this and that you made it free. And I mean, I hope it's bringing more and more people to you as well, because I also see you as a teacher of yoga teachers, because, I've been to other yoga, I don't call myself a big yogi, but, I've been to enough yoga classes, and yours is different from all of them. And I think it's because of the way that you're channeling as you're doing it. And it's not a routine. It's not rote. It's not a program. It's like you're reading the energy of a group and delivering that. And that's what you did today, which I thought was its own kind of miracle. And I remember being at your house in Indianapolis, and the person next to me was new to your work, and she was a yoga teacher. I've forgotten her name, but from like Philadelphia. And you know, she's a lifelong yoga teacher, and she's like, "This is the greatest thing I've ever done." Like, this is she. I believe then went to your yoga teacher training. You're it's teaching a new awareness through yoga, and there are so many great yoga teachers out there who are already well versed in the yoga, and then you bring this extra something to it, and I think that's so beautiful. I want to help make more of that. I hope that's on your...
There are so many beautiful yoga traditions and so many teachers that are so very well trained in each of those traditions. And I have great regard for the deep discipline that happens. I spent years in deep study myself in meditation, and their yoga was not really a part of that. Yoga came later for me as part of my embodiment process of anchoring what I had been awakening to in these higher realms. And so I have a huge appreciation for the disciplines off the mat as well as on the mat that are inside of these deep yogic traditions. And I am also always honored when these teachers come to work with me, because of knowing what they know, and knowing where they have been, and knowing how most of them learned was in a very regimented, unilateral, focused environment where this was the way to do it. And it works when people drop their devotion into a singular discipline. It works to unfold what is here to unfold. And with Body Awake Yoga, what I am doing is saying that each of those traditions have their place under the sun. And what I want to do is bring it to life for the individual that's on the yoga mat, whether they have a history with deep yogic teachings or they're brand new to yoga, or where most people are in between, that there is something on the mat for them that can come alive within them, that until we bring our awareness to that, it can't come to life. And so we have this wonderful opportunity to blend those worlds. Because of my experience and my focus being on embodiment, I'm very interested in people awakening inside of themselves that which awakened inside of me as I, opened up and dropped into my own system. So I found these truths from the inside out. And then I later studied yogic tradition and saw that what I had discovered was matched by these ancient Vedic teachings and the Yoga Sutras. I didn't know those teachings as I was codifying what it was taking for me to anchor and embody what I had been awakening to in these higher realms. And I was so thrilled to see that it was already there even before I discovered it. But I was also happy that I discovered it before I knew it was there, because that's really the heart of this teaching, is that wisdom is inside of every one of us. And if we allow ourselves to learn how to access it, it will rise. And when it rises, it gives us the knowledge and the wisdom and the love and the caring and the capacity to have the wherewithal to show up in life the way we want to. It's inside of us. So the first thing that I felt when I saw these writings was like, great, where was that 10 years ago when I needed it? And then my second thought was, I'm so glad I didn't know it, because discovering it is what allows me to encourage other people to discover it within inside themselves. And it's the come from that I think people fall in love with. that makes them able to stop searching, because they recognize that they too have it inside of them. It's what we're made of. There's no one's left out here. We just have to direct our attention to finding how to find it. And so the seeking stops because they're learning how to find themselves, their highest self, and fuse it with their personality self that's trying to get through this life. And the byproduct of that is a life filled with more grace.
Ooh, beautiful. All right. Yeah, time's up. Yeah.
And that is, yeah, and I want to invite everyone to join us with the Free Body Awake. It's
Yeah.
easy to do.
Oh, I will. I will absolutely figure out all the ways that I can figure out to push out that message and bring it to new people that don't know you. My friend Kati is now one of your new and big fans. And
Oh, I'm thrilled.
yeah. Wow. I feel just crazy lucky, like lucky to have you here, and you've been on fire since, we all had to go home and go inside and go inside.
Right. It's my favorite place.
You've been prepared for this for a long time.
A few lifetimes.
Yeah, a few lifetimes. Wow. Thank you.
Tanya, we are blessed by you. Thank you for doing what you're doing.
I love you. I can't wait to see you soon.
Yeah, it's really good to see you today.
Soon.
In this form. I'll have that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Blessings to you.
I will see you on the mat, because I'll be back.
I'll be there. Be right there.
Thank you.
Love to you.
All right. I love you. Love you, Lisa. Bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, she's in the other room.